My entitled narcissistic mother is ruining my wedding before it even takes place, as she is once again making everything about her while also turning my entire family against me if I don't bend to her will. And now I feel like I'm at my breaking point because right now I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so there is so much to this, and I really hope that this very condensed version makes even a little bit of sense to somebody. My longtime fiance and I have finally decided to make the step and get married. This has been in the works for all of 3 weeks, and it's already been an absolute nightmare due to my family. Long story short, my parents have been divorced for over 10 years, and it has been ugly ever since the beginning. For added context, very critical actions on my mom's part are what inevitably led to the divorce, and since then, the relationship between her and her older, now adult children has been extremely strained due to her actions and behavior, so I'll let that speak for itself. Now, due to the cost, our best option for a venue is my dad's house as a backyard event. While trying to put some feelers out to my mom's side of the family about the wedding, several family members made no effort to dance around their decision to straight up not attend if it was held at his house. Now, trying to make this work for everyone, we were able to find a different relative's home to act as the reception venue, and this seemed to get everyone on the same page of being willing to attend. But unfortunately, this is where the messiest part begins. My mom and I have not been on speaking terms for over a year. This stemmed from a situation like many others that she herself instigated and set off her full narcissistic tendencies. Despite not being on speaking terms, I've had several big life achievements this year and have attempted to include her in the conversation via a family group chat, including the decision to move forward with the wedding. She has never responded or participated in any of the messages that I have sent, including the wedding. With the wedding now in motion, I have family members telling me to reach out to her directly, that essentially she feels she deserves more from me than inclusion in a group chat despite not speaking to me for a year and not reciprocating the effort that I have offered through the open door of including her in the group chat. Her side of the family says they will not attend if she is not invited to the wedding, so I just caved and I directly texted her, reiterating once again that I have deliberately included her in these major life moments all year, and I've still not gotten a response. I reiterated that I understand she has her feelings, and I also have mine, but regardless, I'm still putting forward the effort that she is not reciprocating. Well, as you might guess, she didn't respond. Just like so many other times in my life, she has enabled so much turmoil and completely takes the joy away from something to celebrate. With her lack of response, I do anticipate her not willing to try to work things out with me just to try and attend my wedding, which also means I fully expect her side of the family to inevitably pull out of attending as well. I'm ready to pull the plug on the entire thing when so much of it has already become a fight within 3 weeks of planning. So am I overreacting and throwing myself a pity party, or would you also be upset in this situation? What should I do? Oh man, this situation sucks for so many reasons, but for me, it all begins and ends with the fact that your mom is an absolute piece of garbage. Once again, she's making everything about herself and trying to make you look like the bad guy. Like seriously, this is so uncalled for, it's not even funny. And it's also not fair. You're literally trying to reach out and extend an olive branch, and this lady is ignoring you and being like, well, I'm just not going to respond to you. And it's like, okay, well, this is your own fault. The original poster updated us and said that she finally did respond, but will only speak to the original poster if they go to her house and do it in person. And by the way, their mom lives 2.5 hours away from her. So the original poster decided to change the venue back to what it was originally, and they are literally just closing this chapter and moving on with their lives. So truly, they made the absolute best decision in this scenario, and I don't blame them for doing what's best for them and their wedding. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Today, I messed up by breaking an Italian man's pasta machine in a cooking class, and I honestly feel terrible and I'm not sure what to do. Here's what happened. So I was in a fresh pasta cooking course, which was in 2 sessions, and this was the second one. And our Italian teacher had gotten some bad feedback on last session's cleaning from the school. I felt bad that he got the complaints for our sloppy mess, so this time I wanted to be extra helpful. We were getting ready to eat and some people started to clean. Now the teacher had brought his own very old metallic colored pasta machine, and I was the only one of the attendees that had brought his own. My spouse had bought it for me. It was a beautiful red one. Like this thing was a Ferrari, the same Atlas brand as the old one. Pasta machines have a tightening torque at the bottom, which attaches them to the table so that the machine stays still while you spin the crank. So I had to attach my machine, which has a very bulky torque that you can tighten very tightly, and I went to the other side of the table to take off the teacher's machine. mine. That way he wouldn't have to do it himself. Well, somehow I forgot which way the torque in general was supposed to go, and for the most part, it has to be turned in order to open them up, and somehow I managed to tighten it even more. So I realized it and I switched the other way around, and with a little bit more force applied, part of the bracket came off. I went to tell our typical Italian teacher man, and he said to me that I am a brutal man, asking me what I had done, and he then went to do the same and managed to clip off the other part of the bracket. After that, he got brutal and just pulled the machine off the table with some force. Well, when this happened, I immediately apologized, and he stared at me and the machine in a little bit of disbelief, and with shock on his face, he said to me, "Well, I have your address and email," and before he could continue, I jumped in and said, "Yes, so you can send me the bill." And yes, he was nice about it, and we joked about it afterwards, but the machine was really old, so it probably had some kind of sentimental value. But honestly, oh well. I'm going to his other cooking class next week, and he said he likes Lamborghinis more than Ferraris. So now I told him I'll park one for him, because truly I messed up, and the least I can do is try to replace it. Yeah, this is a good example of maybe you did just a little bit too much to help out, and instead of actually helping out, you broke something that probably really did mean something to this guy. But thankfully, this guy does seem to have a good sense of humor, and he did take this in stride, because man, if this really was some kind of like family heirloom, this could have been a much different story. My boyfriend's sister resents me and my boyfriend for all the money that we have, and now this is causing massive fights between the two of them, leaving me stuck in the middle, unsure what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I've been with my boyfriend for a year and a half. We are both employed and we earn steady salaries. When it comes to paying for anything, we usually just split it down the middle. I've never asked my boyfriend to ever pay for anything for me. If he has ever paid for something just for me, it's because he insisted to do so, and that happens between the both of us, vice versa. Now, my boyfriend's sister is unemployed, as she was recently let go from her job. I've always gotten along with her fine. I've gotten her Christmas and birthday presents, and I've never had an argument with her. She also does not have a driver's license, and honestly, I don't know why. She has no major disabilities or any kind of setback. Now, I have a car, a license, and I pay for my own petrol. I also drive regularly. My boyfriend drives me around if he wants to, but I have never asked him to, because I can drive myself, so I have no need. My boyfriend drives his sister around and always asked her for petrol money, and this is maybe 100 Rand per week, and we are from South Africa, so our currency is Rands. Since she got let go from her job, she has started getting resentful about the petrol money. About 3 weeks ago, she hands over 30 Rand instead of 100. My boyfriend asked her where the rest is, and she responds by saying, "That's all I'm giving you because you drive your girlfriend around for free," which isn't even fair. My boyfriend then hit the roof and a major argument ensued. It turns out the sister has been snippy about my boyfriend not giving her spending money anymore, or even paying for her other bills, which honestly, I didn't even know he did until he started venting about the whole thing to me. And he did this because he's saving up for an engagement ring, and we are both saving up for a wedding. And this was just the final straw. And apparently, she's been snippy about that too, because she says that he's never gotten her anything nice like that before. I just said, "Okay, I can help you pay for the engagement ring." And he said to me, "No, I want to pay for it myself." Now, my boyfriend's parents can't support his sister anymore because they don't have a lot to begin with. So far, I have said nothing, and I have stayed out of it because I want to maintain a civil relationship with the sister. So I have not spoken to her about what she's been saying. And their parents kind of just shrug their shoulders and say, "Sort it out." So honestly, I'm not sure what to say to my boyfriend to try and help out, since he is at his breaking point with his sister. What should I do? Okay, honestly, I know the temptation here is to be like, "Oh man, I want to get involved. Is there something I can do or say to try and help this out? How can I be involved?" But honestly, in my opinion, if I was in your shoes, I would stay completely out of this. Like, this really does seem like a nightmare waiting to happen, and it seems like some kind of like family dispute that you just don't want to be involved with. Like, truly, this doesn't sound like a good time, and I would hate to be mixed up in the middle of this, because I'm willing to bet that your boyfriend knows better than anybody else that his sister is being very entitled. So I'm fairly certain to say that this is probably something that he can take care of on his own. Am I the jerk for refusing to go to my mother-in-law's house for dinner any longer after she started being so late and getting things ready that we now eat dinner at about 9 o'clock or even later? Because right now I am incredibly frustrated. Here's what happened. Okay, so my mother-in-law has recently moved back to our hometown after finally escaping from her ex. My husband and I were unaware of the severity of the situation because my mother-in-law made efforts to hide it, and I know that my husband is feeling quite guilty about it. But my mother-in-law is doing better, and she has her own little apartment in town and has been working and rebuilding her life. We've made efforts to support her as much as possible, but we are in a tight spot financially, so what we can do is limited. For the past few couple of weeks, my mother-in-law has been inviting us over to her place for dinner multiple times a week. She has always loved to cook, and says that she is excited to get to cook for family again. Plus, she gets to spend time with our toddler. The problem is that she has consistently told us to be there at about 6 o'clock p.m., only for her to not have dinner ready until 9 o'clock or even later, and she refuses any help in the kitchen. Now, this is a major issue because we wind up staying out past our daughter's bedtime. Her whole nighttime routine gets thrown off, and it makes it harder to get down for bed, not to mention how cranky she gets waiting on the food. I've tried to gently talk to my mother-in-law about this, but she has always been critical of me and my parenting. She thinks it's outrageous that I keep my daughter on such a strict schedule and insists that when her kids were little, they didn't have schedules, and they just ate when they were hungry and fell asleep when they were tired, and it all worked out just fine. I asked my husband to talk to his mom about it, but she basically told him the same thing. But then she went off on him about how she was just trying to help us out financially by providing a few meals for us, and how terrible it was for us to try and make her feel bad for just wanting to spend time with her family. So he just dropped the subject, and we've been back to her place for dinner a couple more times since then, and it's still being served at about 9 o'clock p.m. And now she's also making passive-aggressive comments about how I need to loosen up and how I can't expect the world to stick to my schedule. Now, my husband thinks that we should just put up with it because his mom has been through so much, and he feels partially responsible because he was unaware of the situation and wasn't able to protect her. But after a particularly critical phone call with her yesterday, I told my husband that I didn't want to go to her place for dinner any longer. He insisted that she is just stressed because of everything she's been through, and we need to show her some leniency. But I told him that she can come over to our place for dinner every now and then, and that would be fine. But I am not going to be held captive at her apartment anymore. We didn't really come to an agreement though, and I'm thinking that maybe I'm being too harsh on my mother-in-law, and I'm making my husband's life miserable in the process. So truly, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now, I really don't know what to do. No, I don't think you're the jerk at all. Like, this whole scenario is so annoying in my opinion, it's not even funny. For starters, the mother-in-law is not eating food until 9 o'clock p.m., and I bet that's exactly when your daughter's supposed to go to bed. The fact that she can't understand that and is somehow dismissing that and trying to justify her actions, in my opinion, is so toxic. Like, why should you show up at 6 o'clock and not eat your food until what, 9:30, 10 o'clock? All with her being like, no, I don't want any help in the kitchen. It's like, seriously, lady, I understand that you're stressed out and you're going through some stuff, but you're literally hindering my life. Like, this isn't fair for you at all. And sure, your husband feels guilty because he didn't know about his mom and all the stuff that she was going through, but guess what? That's not his fault. He didn't know about it because she kept it a secret. And I'm not blaming the mother-in-law for keeping it a secret. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of nuance and a lot of tough things that she went through, but in my opinion, there's no reason for your husband to beat himself up about something he did not know about. So truly, this is not your fault, and I don't blame you for speaking up, because this truly would get annoying very quickly, and I don't blame you for saying something in the first place. Am I the jerk for refusing to be responsible for my parents' dogs while they go away on vacation for over a week? Because their dogs are incredibly high maintenance, and they will disrupt my entire work week from the ground up. But despite the fact that I tried to explain this to my parents and tell them that this would not work with my schedule, my parents have now said that I'm being selfish and that I'm the jerk for not accommodating their anniversary. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 26-year-old male, and I'm the oldest sibling of my parents. I got married this year, and I moved out to live with my now wife in May, but I only live about 15 minutes away from my parents. My 22-year-old brother is away in college, and he lives about 2 hours away by driving, and my 18-year-old sister also just went away to college herself several states away, and so my parents are now technically empty nesters. My parents also have 2 dogs who are very high maintenance. They are extremely active dogs that require 2 walks and runs at the park per day just to get all of their energy out, and they also go crazy when my mom is not home. When I've watched the dogs in the past, I can hardly get any sleep because the dogs are restless due to a change in their routine. In the past, when we have lived at home, it has not been much of a problem for us kids that live at home to pick up the slack with the dogs if my parents are out of town. But my parents are going on a vacation for their anniversary in January for a week, and they've asked my brother and I to cover the responsibility of the dogs while they are gone. And this would involve one of us walking the dogs twice daily and staying overnight so that they don't get lonely or destroy anything. Now, because my brother lives 2 hours away at school, he can't realistically go to class and come and go home during the weekdays. So, given that, the weekdays would be completely on me. But here's the problem. I have a job that has an unpredictable schedule during the week. I might start early or end late on any given day, so it would be extremely hard for me to commit to the routine of walking the dogs twice a day. My wife and I also just got married, and she works night shifts as well as every other weekend. I don't want to leave my wife at home when she is home and go sleep at my parents' house just because of the dogs. I would basically not see her for almost a week because of her night shift schedule. And because she needs to sleep during the day, it just wouldn't allow her to come with me. And if she happens to be off over that weekend, then I do not want to be responsible for the dogs on the rare weekend that we are both available to do something together. Also, staying overnight at my parents' house would wreck my sleep schedule because the dogs would stay up all night due to the change in their routine. I told my parents this reasoning, and they actually told me that I was the jerk, all because they felt that I was looking for reasons to get out of this instead of trying to make it work for their anniversary. They then told me that I'm making this a bigger deal than it needs to be, but I find it ridiculous to ask me to leave my wife for a week just to stay at their house for the dogs. So truly, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now, I really don't know what to do. No, I don't think you're the jerk at all, because it really sounds like those dogs are high maintenance. Like sure, you could probably make this work in some kind of way, but the way your parents are phrasing this, in my opinion, it kind of shows their hand in this situation. They know their dogs are obnoxious, and they just don't want to find someone else to put up with it. Because you definitely said the quiet part out loud. You know for a fact you don't want to do this, and they're trying to act like, oh, you're just trying to find reasons to not do this. And it's like, okay, well clearly you know you've got a problem that I don't want to solve. Also, the fact that your work schedule is kind of like all over the place, and your wife also works at night, for me is more than enough of a reason for you to be like, listen, I can't make this work. This literally is not going to work with my schedule, and my wife can't step up and do it because she's sleeping during the day. So personally, I don't think you're being selfish or the jerk at all. It's not selfish to be like, listen, I can't make this happen. This is disrupting my life and I literally have no time. Because I really believe that if anybody is being inconsiderate in this situation, in my opinion, I think it's the parents, and definitely not you or your wife. Am I the jerk for refusing to pay my ex-fiance's brother back for a dress that he bought me for a wedding that I just canceled? Because right now, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, for a bit of context, I got engaged in July to my long-term boyfriend who we will call Matt. We were excited to start the next chapter of our lives, and so we started planning the wedding immediately. Money is tight, but I have been saving for my wedding, so many of the costs were coming out of my savings, with Matt chipping in where he can, which was absolutely fine as we were planning our future. Matt spoke to his brother who we will call Tom, and he offered to pay for my reception dress. And in my culture, it's normal to have the white dress for the ceremony and then a traditional dress for the reception. Now, Tom has been living with me and my parents for a few months after he was kicked out of his place and then his uncle's. And it turns out that he was a peeping Tom, if you know what I mean. We took him in to try and help him get back on his feet, but since he moved in, he has just taken advantage of me entirely. He has taken my room while I sleep on the couch, and he often sleeps in, so I can't even go get changed till he gets out of my room. He also rode off his car and started driving mine to work, meaning I had to travel to a coworker to catch a lift to my office, which is adding at least 2 hours a day to my commute. He also doesn't pay rent or contribute to the grocery bill at all. After my father got retrenched, these issues finally came to a head, and my father told Tom that it was ridiculous that I had to catch a ride with a coworker and that I get home late constantly, while he drives my car as he pleases. He stated that I will now drive my own car and he can Uber to work. Well, this resulted in Tom and Matt deciding to get a flat closer to Tom's work so they don't have to pay that much for Uber, and finally with that, Tom moved out in an amicable arrangement, or so I thought. I don't know what Tom told his family, but I started getting irate phone calls from Matt and Tom's family members asking me how dare I throw Tom out like that. After a lot of back and forth, we agreed that my parents and I would meet with the family members and Matt just to try and smooth everything out and clear the air. Except when the meeting came, Matt didn't pitch, and when I called to ask where he was, he stated he knew that we didn't throw him out, so it wasn't his problem. I couldn't believe this man that I wanted to marry couldn't be bothered to deal with his own family. The meeting didn't go well, with lots of shouting and accusation, and eventually enough was enough. With this on top of all the other issues I've had with them in the wedding planning process, I finally snapped and I called off the whole thing. I messaged Matt a couple of times since then, but he's pretty much ghosted me. Now, here's where I might be the jerk. Tom has messaged me today demanding that I pay him back for the dress in 4 days' time, but I told him no, and that he must take it up with Matt as I have just paid double the amount to cancel our wedding venue. Also, I don't have the dress yet, and as far as I know, he's the one that has it. So truly, am I the jerk in this situation for all the things that went down? Because right now, I really don't know what to do. Okay, first and foremost, I need to say this really is insane. To start things out, honestly, Tom is a massive piece of garbage. He was taking your car and using it whenever he wanted, forcing you to go 2 hours out of your way just to get to work. Like seriously, how did that even happen in the first place? It is crazy to me that that this was even allowed in the first place, the second anybody heard, oh wait, you're going 2 hours out of your way during your commute just to get to work? Like, that is not gonna happen. I'm sorry, that's just not allowed. Also, this guy doesn't pay any money towards rent or the grocery bill. Like, seriously, this is so annoying. So you mean to tell me that he was just some weirdo who lived rent-free in your house and was also taking your car for whatever he wanted? Like, this guy's a grade A loser. Like, seriously, how can anyone possibly defend that? So when Matt and Tom's family decides to be like, wow, you kicked him out, I can't believe it. It's almost like, wait a second, didn't you do the same thing? Like, these people literally kicked him out for being a creep and a weirdo. And if you don't know what peeping Tom means, trust me, it's not something you want to be called. It basically means that this guy was looking places he definitely shouldn't when people weren't looking. So ignore the fact that you guys even let him in your house in the first place, but also the fact that Matt's like, well, this isn't really my problem, so I'm just gonna let you deal with it. Like, seriously, that is a massive red flag, and I'm so glad that you called on to that. Because this is how Matt truly is. In the face of controversy and some kind of confrontation, he's going to tuck his tail between his legs and run away. That's what you can expect from him, and honestly, that is so tragic. So no, you're not the jerk in this situation, because Matt is an absolute coward, and his family is really stupid. And the fact that anybody's believing Tom in this scenario, in my opinion, says a lot about these people. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.